No business or employee in South Carolina is safe from the disingenuous campaigns and destructive impacts of union infiltration.
Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
Talk about the South Carolina governor, man. This guy is crazy. So I did about like an hour of reading last night at 11 p.m. trying to figure out what the hell made him so upset, because he mentioned the International Longshoremen's Association, and then the ILA responded to his attack, but neither of them really, like, in either of their statements dug into the kind of the background of why they were fighting, right? And so I have no context of this. It's not been this fight has not been covered. Kind of interestingly, after reading it, it feels like it should be news, you know, what's going on. But so I had to do some digging and find some articles about this. And so apparently what's going on is the ILA has a contract with the U.S. Marine Carriers Association or whatever, the big ocean carriers. They got a contract with them, and in the contract, it says that that in any new ports, not existing ports, but in any new ports, all work will be done by the ILA. And so that clause kicked into effect with South Carolina's construction of a new port. They're calling it the name of the port is the Leatherman port, the something or another Leatherman terminal. So that opened after that agreement. So the ILA is saying this clause is in effect. And at other South Carolina ports, there's this hybrid model where South Carolina state employees do some of the work and ILA members do some of the work, right? So there's this hybrid model, and because this is a new port that's been done, that was built and opened after this contract where the USMC said, we will, USMX said, any new ports, you get all the work. The ILA is trying to enforce the contract. So they sued to enforce the contract in like New Jersey court, because I think that's where the USMX is located. And so they sued in New Jersey to try to enforce the contract for like $300 million or something. And then there was a decision, and then South Carolina countersued, and some of these facts I'm still a bit hazy on, but I'm giving you the gist of what's going on. You'll kind of understand at least the broad strokes, right? And so then South Carolina countersued, or a lower judge said that no, ILA, you can't enforce your contract because of the ban on secondary boycotts. And so I had a difficult time figuring out, like, how are you getting the secondary boycotts? They're suing the people that they have a contract with. How is this a secondary boycott? And so basically their argument is that because the employees in the hybrid work model in the rest of South Carolina's ports are employed by the South Carolina state government, that the ILA is then therefore putting pressure on the South Carolina state government, who they don't have a contract with, and therefore it's a secondary boycott. And it falls under the secondary boycott ban of the Taft-Hartley Act. And now I don't buy that. I don't think it makes sense, because the ILA is not suing South Carolina, and they're not saying that South Carolina can or can't hire whoever the hell they want. They're just saying that USMX cannot use a new terminal with this hybrid work model, right? So, South Carolina can do whatever the hell they want and employ people or not employ people. But if they do that, then the ILA says that under the terms of their contract, USMX can't use this port, right? And so I don't, and so I don't buy that. Neither did the NLRB, and neither did the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals. The Supreme Court has taken this up now, and so we're going to see they have got a hearing scheduled in April. And so we're going to see what the Supreme Court says. I'm very concerned, very concerned about it because the Supreme Court is so bad, because of Trump, right? Right, in large part because of Trump, and I think that's kind of relevant to conversations that we're going to have in the later parts of the program. But I'm not hopeful about it, but just the dynamics in the letter of the law seem clear to me. They're suing the people that they have the contract with because of actions that the people that they have the contract with want to take. Right? I mean, it just seems super direct and not secondary at all. So I don't know what's going to happen. I'm not a legal expert, but it just doesn't make sense to me. South Carolina's defense or their argument here. But so there we go. That's the background. Now you're caught up generally, and you'll have an understanding for these comments by South Carolina Governor McMaster at his State of the State speech last week. Let's play this.
Let's talk about unions for a moment. One thing we do not need is more labor unions in South Carolina. We've gotten where we are without them, and we do not need them now. We are a right-to-work state. We have the lowest union membership in the country. We have worked hard and carefully through education, training, and business recruitment to earn our record prosperity, and we will continue to preserve it and enhance it. However, our prosperity and that of generations of South Carolinians to come face a clear and present danger from the big labor unions. They have crippled and distorted the progress and prosperity of industries and cities in other states. You are familiar with the Rust Belt. It has taken years, but they've managed to do it. And now their membership is at an all-time low and failing. So now they're looking at us and other booming southeastern states, none of which want or need labor unions. In 2021, the International Longshoremen's Association sued the maritime shipping carriers for calling on the Port of Charleston's state-of-the-art Leatherman terminal. Over the past 2.5 years, what started as a secondary boycott to force the State Ports Authority to cede long-held state jobs to union labor has devolved into a broader threat to our current and future prosperity. The cranes at that terminal and others are run by state employees. They cost over $10 million each, and it takes years to learn how to run them. That's why we have our people, our state employees, running those cranes. Secondary boycotts are illegal. The ILA's secondary boycott was initially rejected, but later resurrected by President Biden's appointees on the National Labor Relations Board. We have taken the fight all the way to the United States Supreme Court, which I believe will understand the dire implications of this conduct, uphold the law, and rule in our favor. Our aerospace, vehicle, and tire manufacturers are no longer the sole targets for labor organizers. No. Our thriving hospitality and tourism industry along our coast now finds itself a target too. It seems that no business or employee in South Carolina is safe from the disingenuous campaigns and destructive impacts of union infiltration. No one should bargain their prosperity under threats of union boycotts or coercive pressure campaigns. We will not let our state's economy suffer or become collateral damage as labor unions seek to consume new jobs and conscript new dues-paying members. And we will not allow the Biden administration's vigorous pro-union policies to chip away at South Carolina's sovereign interests. We will fight. Ladies and gentlemen, we will fight all the way to the gates of hell, and we will win this battle. Thank you.
Hey, 5 seconds. Just wanted to say that this is only possible because of our donors. If you want to see more of this, then consider donating yourself at tvlr.fm/donate.
So there you go. You got a lot of those same anti-union talking points. Union's bad, whatever. And so the ILA international president did respond, and like I said, he didn't go into some of the background facts of the case, but he did make some arguments against McMaster, and interestingly, he almost, I hesitate to say that this is an attack from the right on McMaster because just because the proposal is to have the employees be state employees, and so this be like a state enterprise, that doesn't automatically make it better or like right wing, right? So I don't want or left wing. It doesn't make it left wing automatically if the proposal is to have state employees do something as opposed to not state employees. But the way that he frames it is kind of right wing, I think. Harold Daggett, International Longshoremen's Association, ILA, international president, said in his statement, McMaster went out of his way to single out the International Longshoremen's Association, which represents the hardworking men and women in the Port of Charleston. But ironically, the Port of Charleston is the perfect example of this hypocrisy. If he truly cared about the prosperity of South Carolinians, he would modernize the Port of Charleston so that it would be operated by private enterprise, like almost everywhere else in the United States. If South Carolina allowed private investment in the port, it would cost state residents nothing. But instead, the governor and his administration tax the public to operate the port. So that's an interesting argument there. I hesitate to say that it's kind of like a right-wing argument because of the fact that, is it more, what's more right-wing or pro-worker? Have state employees who are not officially represented by a union and probably have lower wages and worse working conditions, or have private employees who are represented by a union and presumably have higher wages, better working conditions. I guess it's probably the latter, right? If those are the two options that you have, it's probably the latter. But it's kind of an interesting, using those words to try to attack him on that. I wonder how effective that is in South Carolina. If it does anything to, Republican politicians and commentators and such. I wonder if that does anything. Hearing, he's not letting private enterprise do the work. I don't know. I'm not too sure. He goes on to say, South Carolina's Republican politicians and corporate cronies have consistently worked to prevent the development of a strong labor presence, but since 1869, organized Charleston longshoremen have overcome South Carolina's racist and anti-union sentiment to maintain their presence in the community. From its earliest days, the predominantly black longshoremen's local in Charleston, ILA, Local 1422, has enjoyed relationships with local political, business, and community leaders. These longshoremen have used solidarity forged by racial discrimination and anti-unionism to combat the hostility created by many South Carolina politicians. Over 100 years ago, McMaster's political ancestors took the lead in the fight to force black Americans to work for free. Now, McMaster has pledged to fight to the gates of hell to prevent South Carolina workers from being paid fairly for their work. McMaster will lose that fight, just as his predecessors lost theirs. So we'll see what happened there. In addition to that statement, the Local 1422 held a rally after the State of the State address, and they did a big, they had some speeches and they had their own local response. And I got somebody who was there to send me the video, and unfortunately, it was in like a school gym or something, and they had a PA system, and so the audio from the recording is just almost inaudible because of the echoes, right? Because you can actually hear the person speaking, and then like half a second later, the PA system comes through, and it's all echoey, and it's, it's jumbled, and I couldn't make out very much of it, which is very unfortunate because it looked like a really good speech, and the reaction of the audience made it seem like, oh wow, he's really spitting some fire. I have no idea what the hell he's saying, which was a big bummer. But I was able to pull some from when they were singing a little bit that you can make out and does sound good. So let's play this so that people can kind of get a feel for what the environment at this rally was like. There you go. All right. So yeah, best of luck to the IALA and their argument in the Supreme Court. We'll let you know what happens when the decision comes down. Probably come down, I don't know, sometime in June or July. So we'll keep an eye on that and let you know. You just saw a clip from the Valley Labor Report. We are live every Saturday morning from 9:30 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. And we pride ourselves on keeping all of our content free to everybody so that we can talk to as many working folks as possible. If you support the work that we're doing, you think that it's important, you think that it's good, then consider making a monthly contribution to the project, and you can do that on our website, tvlr.fm.